Hey y'all, a couple of guildies that play Ret Paladins were asking me about, what I use for add-ons, what do I do for rotations, and different things. Just basically, what do I need to do? What do I use to, be the best player I can be? And honestly, a lot of it is just practice and practice and practice. So the first add-on I use is called CLC Ret, and you can kind of see it here. It shows some icons. Basically, it's saying, hey, do Judgment, and then the next one you're going to do is do Crusader Strike. And what I do is if there's multiple uh, targets, I will usually substitute Hammer of Wrath, not Hammer of Wrath. What is it? Hammer of Righteous. If there's multiple mobs there, so you hit multiple ones there instead of just a single one. It just depends on what your raid leader wants you to be doing. If you're out there killing ads or uh, you might only want to be attacking one ad at a time to maximize your DPS on that one. There's different reasons to do stuff. So that's the primary one I use. A lot of times I will substitute in my own stuff, even though it says to do something else. It doesn't really work very well with, I believe it's Divine Crusader, and there's another option. When the thing is when you do a Templar's verdict, or final verdict is what I use. It also increases the damage of your next Divine Storm by 100% and increases the radius by 50%. So a lot of times, I'm not sure if there's a bunch of mobs out there, if you should be hitting Divine Storm every time you possibly can, or you try to weave in a final verdict before you do a Divine Storm. And a lot of times what I do is I'll do the final verdict, um, and then what I'll do is the next time I can put in a Divine Storm, I'll do a Divine Storm, and then I'll work in a final verdict, and then do a Divine Storm. So honestly, I haven't done the math. I haven't looked at all the damage meters and stuff to really figure it out. A lot of times you're out there just trying to do the most damage as you can. There's a couple of add-ons. There's the other add-on that I use is called Need to Know, and down in the middle of the screen here, it'll pop up two bars. So one will be the Divine Crusader, I believe, and then the other is the Final Verdict. So Final Verdict is a green bar. It'll show that hey, it's up, and my next, if I can do a Divine Storm, and there's multiple ads out there, then it's probably a good idea to do Divine Storm instead of another Final Verdict. So let me do a couple rotations here, and that's the other thing is I cannot multitask very well. So so here we got a Final Verdict up, and I've got a free Divine Crusader. So I will go ahead and hit the Divine Storm there. So that's the other thing is I can't talk and do stuff at the same time. So sometimes if you're running around in a boss fight and you're like, okay, what do I do? You can look up here and say, oh, okay, I need to be doing that, or that's what's available. See, in here, it's telling me to do Judgment, but I am going to do a Divine Storm instead. So I think there's ways to fix it to where it will be a little bit more accurate, but honestly, after playing for so long, you just get used to doing the same rotation, and that's the main thing. Is if you play it enough, then uh, you'll get the rotation. So that's the main thing. Is your first priority is doing damage, so you want to do as much damage as you possibly can, and then the other thing is since you're a paladin. Um, you've got a lot of other tools to use. Hand of Sacrifice, Cleanse, Hand of Protection, Hand of Freedom. So the other add-on I use is called Click, and there's different things to do with that. So I can, if I, so shift left button, I think it'll actually apply it if, or map it if I have this open. So shift left button. I don't know why it's not. Oh, that's hand of sacrifice. Sorry. So um, I can't do it on myself. So if I want to do control left button, see it'll put that on there. So you can set that up to however you like. Um, because you're a paladin, you've got other utilities that you can do, and you're valuable that way, and you're not just a DPS for the group. You're coming in with other tools that you can use. If you're not using all your tools, then you could be helping the raid when you just able to get that extra 1%. It's kind of like you've also got a taunt. So I've got I use a lot of alt keys. I use an alt key as a modifier for a lot of my buttons. So like down here I have, whenever I want to do a final verdict, I will hit alt and then the number 2, and it'll do my final verdict for me. So you can have your setup however you want, as long as the keys are set up. Sometimes the boss is at 1%, 2%. Sometimes it's good to sacrifice yourself. You taunt the boss, and then hit divine shield, and you're going to live for 8 seconds at least. But maybe that's enough time for your teammates to get the boss down, and or maybe bring the tank back up and do stuff. So you've got lots of utilities. Some other things about macros. So there's, okay, before I get to macros, so there's 3 add-ons I use: CLC Ret, Need to Know, and Click. And there's lots of other things. Well, the other thing I use is mouse over macros. So I've got one set up for my Holy Prism. So if I target, the way Holy Prism works is if you target an enemy mob, it will hit them and kind of reflect back out and heal other people. So it'll damage. So if you saw there, it hit this target dummy, hit this training dummy for healing, and then came back to me and healed me as well. So the other way to do it is you can target yourself. So since I'm using mouse over macros, maybe I want to use it to hit multiple mobs. So I can target myself, heal myself, or heal another party member. And I'm sometimes some of the fights might be pretty healing intensive, and you're trying to take a little bit of the edge off the other healers. So the other thing is sorry, something popped up on my screen. So stupid thing. Anyway, the other thing is with the mouse over macros, you have a flash of light that you might want to be able to heal somebody, but you don't want to actually untarget the boss or actually have to physically target somebody to do it. So I can actually, if my mouse is over the training dummy here, I can hit, well, I don't know, I've got a little bit of lag there. So it healed the training dummy since my mouse was over it. So I could either heal myself or anything. So there's a number of things you can do. As far as the main thing, your goal is to do damage. And if you're really good at that, you're probably not going to get kicked out of a raid or something. That's your main priority. If you can be useful in other ways, then uh, you help out the raid, and a lot of times nobody cares that you died or you did crappy damage if the boss dies. Everyone's happy to get the boss down. So that's the main goal, is to get the boss down. I'm going to look at some of the numbers here for Divine Crusader and Final Verdict, whether it's on or not. If sometimes it's, like, you get multiple ones here. So I've done it Divine Crusader. That's the third time. So I get 3 in a row. So sometimes it's better just to hit it. If you get a free one, burn it. Don't wait to get a Final Verdict in there. So some of this stuff is, you can do the math and see how it works out. But other times, I you just play with it and stuff. So anyway, I want to show you a macro real quick for the one I came up with for my Holy Prism. Normally, what paladins are supposed to be using is execution sins. That's probably the hardest hitting tier talent that we have, and I would probably recommend getting that most of the time. However, sometimes you go into, a lot of times I will go into a normal or a heroic dungeon. I'll queue as healing, and I will stay in ret spec, and we'll blast through the. If you got enough DPS that the boss doesn't stay alive that long, sometimes you can blast through dungeons really quick with just a minor bit of healing. If you've got a strong enough tank, if you've got a couple of other good DPS with you, makes it pretty easy, and you can just blow through the stuff. Plus, you can get a a lot of times you can get one of those satchels, with about 500 plus gold in it. So the main macro that I'd want to show you is this. It took me a little while to get it working right. So I've got cast at mouse over exists, no dead. So that just says basically, what you want to do is, if it's not dead, use your Holy Prism and on whatever the your mouse is over. So it's pretty simple, but that was a little more complicated when I was doing it. I think this other one up above wasn't working quite right. So you can see I turned it off. I also have a use 13, so that probably would be by default my Librum here. So I think actually when I actually switch over to Holy Spec, I used to have a trinket that I could use that would increase spirit or something like that. So that I use it for both healing and my ret spec. Other macro. Let's see. So Templar's Verdict. I I make use, since my hands are a little bit bigger. I can hit the Alt key and hit my number buttons. It just works out for me, and it's all muscle memory type stuff. That's the main thing, is learning how to play your characters. And if you've got multiple characters, then what you want to do is kind of set up your similar type keys on kind of the same button structure. So if you have something that's an AOE, have it on, like I have a lot of my AOE stuff on number 3. So on my Guardian Druid, that's my swipe or whatever that's going to hit multiple creatures. If I'm on my Death Knight, I'll have something else there. It just depends. So anyway, I've probably talked a whole lot. I'll probably try to post in the comments below, what I think you should do as far as, if you should build up to cast a Final Verdict before doing a Divine Storm, or what you should do there. I typically, like I said, I would probably go with if you get a free one with like Divine Crusader, I would just cast it. And if not, then um, just see how it goes. Usually, if you've got one boss there, it's usually better to wait for a final verdict empowered Divine Storm. So anyway, that should be it. I'll talk to y'all later.